It's being described as a great moment for the world of music, and it's believed to be the first time in 320 years that these pieces were played at a church in Germany. By now you've guessed that they're not just anonymous compositions. A researcher says he's 99.9% confident that the two solo organ works are long-lost compositions of Johann Sebastian Bach. The German musician who lived from 1685 to 1750 is considered one of the greatest composers ever, and experts say he probably put this together when he was about 18 years old. They've known about the old manuscripts for decades, but they had to gather handwriting samples to figure out who put the notes on paper. Only recently did they determine it was done by a student of Bach, and the Dutch organist who performed the works earlier this week said they're so good it shows the composer's genius was clear from a very young age. Hi, I'm Azuz, and if you listen closely, you'll hear that Fridays are awesome! That's what's going on at the world from A to Z. Next trip is around the world in 80 seconds. Along the Pacific Ring of Fire, where the majority of the world's earthquakes occur and volcanoes erupt, Indonesia's Mount Semeru fired a giant column of ash into the sky this week and sent a pyroclastic flow of lava, gas, and volcanic rock boiling down its slopes. Mount Semeru is the highest peak on the Indonesian island of Java, which is the most densely populated island on Earth. 150 million people live there. Most weren't threatened though. Evacuations were ordered for several hundred, and no deaths were reported, even among the 170 plus climbers who were said to be on the mountain when it erupted. They weren't near the crater. Still, some villages were covered in ash or damaged by lava. Indonesia has dozens of active volcanoes. Today marks the end of a 2-week meeting in Brazil focused on the issue of climate change. It's an annual event organized by the United Nations, and this year's gathering was called COP30, COP standing for Conference of the Parties, and 30 being the 30th time it was held. The UN says COP events are where the world comes together to decide what actions to take concerning the global climate, one big goal being the reduction of fossil fuel emissions. But not every conference sees a major agreement, and many countries haven't met the commitments they've made at previous COP gatherings, leading critics to question their effectiveness.
Word of knowledge. What is the longest river in the United Kingdom? River Severn, River Thames, Murray River, Orinoco River? Only the first two rivers here are located in the UK, and the River Severn is the longest, though our next story involves River Trent.
6 volunteers, decked out in waterproof overalls and rubber boots, lugging in and installing bundles of wooden sticks in a stream, part of an effort to combat rising flood threats in the United Kingdom. More than 6.3 million UK properties are at risk of flooding, 1 in 6 homes. Several sources say that statistically, a house is more likely to be flooded than to be burgled.
So by adding these brushwood mattresses, we're kind of giving the river more chance to behave in its natural way. So that will include moving the gravels around to provide habitats for fish and invertebrates, but also kind of slowing the flow in certain places, which is really important for further down in Leicester.
That city and many others in the UK have experienced intense rain in recent years, sometimes causing significant damage.
We've seen that we get slightly more kind of intense rainfall patterns, particularly during winter. So we're seeing water levels kind of rising and lowering quite quickly. These natural processes help to kind of act as a sponge to lower that effect slightly.
The wood raft-like structures add bends to the river, slowing down water in stretches where it naturally flows straight and very fast.
So they're kind of small changes, but very important changes.
Wildlife cameras monitor the flood management, which is designed to eventually develop into a wetland system. Such natural flood reduction techniques are not a solution, but according to this team, they are effective, designed to complement and reduce strain on traditional flood prevention infrastructure.
Getting involved and doing something physical and positive like this it makes you realise as well that these small steps can make a difference.
On this date in world history.
This was the date in 1920 that became known as Bloody Sunday in the Irish War of Independence. The Irish Republican Army targeted suspected British intelligence agents, killing 14 people, and forces aligned with the British retaliated by attacking people at a soccer game in Dublin, killing 14 there and injuring dozens of others. The war continued until the end of 1921. This is believed to be the date in 1877 when American inventor Thomas Edison announced the creation of something that changed the world, a device that could record and play back sound. It was called the phonograph. And the Mayflower Compact was signed on November 21st in 1620. It established a legal framework, a form of government for pilgrims and travelers aboard the English ship Mayflower in advance of its arrival in Massachusetts. We received more comments on Wednesday's AI friend story than we have on any other subject this year. On Facebook, Miss Young said her students found it strange and that it takes away from the value of human friendship. But she added a few thought having an AI friend would help those with social anxiety. Views like these were repeated in several classes. Most of Miss Hauser's students asked if it's legal for the device to record not just the user, but the voices of others without their permission. On our YouTube channel, some of Mrs. Amato's students mentioned that body language is an important part of communication and that a digital device can't read that. Susan's students did not trust Friend to delete its data, saying a friend is a person you can trust and they had little to none in the device. From Mrs. Minnie, many students thought it could possibly be cool someday, but that there needed to be clearer guidelines. And a student in Miss Barris's class said, "It's sad that we are using modern technology to solve a problem that modern technology has created." From the request a shout out link at worldatozz.org, which happens to be the same place where you can find our new holiday merch, we heard from Mrs. De Bruyne's class this week. Jefferson Middle School is in Olympia, Washington, and the home of the Jaguars. Fayetteville, Georgia is where you'll find Whitewater Middle School. Special shout out to Mrs. Carroll's class there and all my Wildcats. From Kansas, it's Mrs. Livingston's class, I presume. The Spartans from Emporia High School are in Emporia. And across the Atlantic, we're excited to see Mr. Weller or Weller's class at Cologne International School. It's in Köln, Germany.
Hold on tight and come along for a wild underwater ride. An open ocean adventure researchers at Griffith University have dubbed the Remora roller coaster. Commonly known as suckerfish, experts are getting a great look at these hitchhikers bumming a ride on the back of a humpback whale off the coast of Australia. Scientists safely suctioned a couple of cameras on migrating humpback whales to study their habits when these things stole the spotlight. They say the video provides rare insight into the complicated whale-remora relationship. Researchers spotted as many as 50 suckerfish stuck to a single whale feasting on sea lice and other crustaceans around the mammal's body. While that's beneficial to the whale, that doesn't mean they like it. The remoras have the ability to quickly glob back on even if the whale knocks them off during a quick trip to the surface. The co-leader of the research program writing, "The whales seem to dislike their presence."
Not ready to get out of the water just yet. We're bringing you a drone's eye view of a very unique playdate. It's not uncommon to see manatees and dolphins in the Sunshine State of Florida, but while testing out a new drone camera over the Manatee River, a detective caught sight of a dolphin hanging out and playing with a family of manatees. He said he'd spent his whole life in the state but had never seen this kind of interaction before. Those who didn't believe it might have thought he was manateasing, but wildlife fans might want to make a manatee shirt about it, as the thought of an interspecies manatee party would suit them to a manatee. But if the officer was manateetering about whether the drone manatees up a good opportuna manatee, the Marine meeting showed enough of the animal's humanity to make a splash and capture its own fin club. I'm Carl Azuz, and we're doll finished for the week on The World from A to Z. We'll have 2 shows next Monday and Tuesday before the Thanksgiving break, so please join us then. You mean the world to me.